I'd like to thank Dave for the friendship, first and foremost, and the opportunity to speak in front of all of you today. This, I'll be honest, was not my dream. My dream was not to one day tell a great tale of a cool story that could really be scripted in a Disney movie. And maybe at some point that may happen. The result at the end you'll see when I show the video might probably be a little different in the Disney movie. But needless to say, my life's journey and story started with a dream. That dream was truly to play Major League Baseball. There was nothing else that I wanted to do except, when I was young, it was play as many sports as I possibly could and win at everything. That's what I had to do. But playing baseball was just all that I wanted. I grew up a Yankee fan, so I know I'm going to get some mostly cheers. And but I knew as a 5'8"3/4, I'm taller now that I'm standing up on these, white, Jewish kid from Guilford, Connecticut, my chances were, anyone? Slim. We'll call it closer to zero. Slim is like a good, I appreciate it. But I'll give you some perspective. So maybe there's some sports fans and non-baseball people here, so I want to give perspective. There are 750 Major League Baseball spots. At any one time, that's how many people are playing Major League Baseball. It's 30 teams, 25 guys per team. 750. In the entire world, there's about 8 million people that are playing at any one time. Now, most people that are playing baseball, when they're on the field and they got the spikes on and the bat and the glove, they want to be a Major League Baseball player. Would that be fair? Anyone here want to have that dream when they were younger? Anyone? One person? Thank you. Okay. It's just what we have. We have that childhood aspiration. We see something on TV. I just heard a Joe DiMaggio story today, and it's like you're still telling the story, and you may have heard the story 100 times, but it's so cool. It's something that you just associate with and you hold on to. Baseball was my passion. It was a pastime, but it was something I wanted so badly. So one of the things that I knew is there was going to be challenges and obstacles. But there is something that they measure, and it's a 60-yard dash. It's how hard are you throwing, how far can you hit. But they can't measure something that is the most important thing in life. This has nothing to do with sports. But it's what's up here in your mind and what's in here in your heart. That determines what your level of success will be at life. Now, once again, I thought baseball was my thing. And anyone that would say anything else, oh, you'll be successful in whatever you do, and I didn't want to hear it. I wanted to play baseball. But what I learned over the years was how important that passion is in everything that you do. And there's one thing that we all have control of. One thing, unequivocally, no questions asked, we have control of. Anyone know what that is? I'll tell you. Attitude. Think about it. We, and only us, individuals, control our attitude. When something happens, we can react, but we control our attitude. Our human emotion is going to take over, but our attitude is everything. We control it. And I'm telling this the truth. I learned that when I was really, really young. And I learned it to the point where I would write it down hundreds of times. Attitude is my decision. Attitude is my decision. So no matter what happened, good or bad, I knew that it was up to me. I could choose what path that I wanted to go on. Can't always control the results and the outcome, which I'll get into. But I wasn't going to let anything stand in my way. So I had a really cushy childhood. I'm not going to lie. My parents allowed me to play 3 sports, and now being a father of 2 and 1 coming, I know how schedules is challenging. My parents, I was one of 5. 5 schedules, 5 places to go, and I was allowed to do whatever I wanted as it relates to sports. And I played, and I played, and that was my life. So I thank my parents for giving me that opportunity. I played 3 sports, baseball, basketball, and soccer. As I said, it was cushy because I was pretty good. I wasn't good because I just naturally was so gifted. I was good because I had heart, passion, I was gifted with talent, but I worked harder than anyone. And I knew if I wanted to get to the top, I had to do something every single day to make myself better. Now, that relates to everything in life, everything that we do. We're all looking always for that quick fix, that what do I do today to just have everything and all my problems go away? Anyone? Anyone? Is that possible? I mean, for the most part, it's not. But what is possible is the decision that you make to then do something to put yourself in a position for success. And that's all I was willing to do. I was willing to do anything it could. My thing was 300 swings a day, rain or shine. It's in my book. I actually wrote there was times that I was in the pool swinging a baseball bat 300 times for resistance. I listened to anyone who said how they got better. I was running up hills. I didn't care if it was raining, if it was snowing. I did everything I could, push-ups, sit-ups. I let my brother get on my back. I mean, I just tried so hard to just get better because I knew the top of the mountain was a ways away. But in my mind, I always felt like it was right there. And at every level, every success I ever had, I was one step closer. And every falter I had, it was a learning experience to get better and improve and push on. So I was all-state in baseball my 4 years in high school. Freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. I think I was the second person ever to have that honor. I was all-state and all-American in soccer. And I was kind of short in basketball, but I was good. I could handle the ball and pass it. And teammates did well. But I just put my heart and soul out on the field or on the court or wherever I played every single time. Got an opportunity to go play for University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And at the time, I wanted to go down south because back when I was getting recruited, if you played up north, you were kind of like an afterthought because the weather was bad, the facilities weren't great, people only played during that short season. So the northern guys were always looked at as, oh, they have more potential talent to come out, but the competition is not as good. I knew that as a 5'8 3/4" kid, I was going to, and I needed to challenge myself. Because if I did really well up here, it would have been, oh, yeah, that's good. Now, I'm also talking in my own psychology. Like I would put that pressure on myself of just challenging myself. Whether that was a true thing or not, I wanted to challenge myself. So I went down to the University of North Carolina with 0, once again, chances of playing center field and leading off. Why do I say this? Because the center fielder was the Team USA center fielder the year prior, and he was the leadoff batter, and he was going to be a junior, and he actually was drafted out of high school by the Yankees in the first round and turned down $2 million. So now I build up that backstory. How much chance do I have to be the starting center fielder and leadoff batter my freshman year at UNC Chapel Hill? Yes, you're correct. We'll go a little bit more than 0 because it happened. Why did it happen? Because I made the decision that there was nothing that was going to stand in my way. Nothing. What did that mean? I was going to have the attitude. I was going to show up every day. I was going to work harder than anyone, and I was going to show that I was going to be a tough out, and I was going to play defense better than anyone. That was it. And it wasn't this lofty goal. It was just that was my job. And I didn't accomplish that in one day. It was over the course of an entire fall. And when I got that opportunity, it was pretty amazing. I'm at the Disney Classic down in Florida, and it was like 4 of the top 5 teams in the entire country were down at that tournament. So this is my freshman year. I'm leading off. I'm playing center field. And I get up to bat, and I struck out. So Dave, I'm sorry. I told you I never made an out. I did. I made it 1 out. So I struck out swinging. And when back in my freshman year with my coach, when we struck out, we had to run back to the dugout. Pretty embarrassing. It just was what it was. As I was running back to the dugout, I had this feeling of, oh my God, this is a lot. Can I do this? Has anyone ever felt that? In their life, in anything. That's the human reaction. And then I had to slow myself down. And when I sat down on the bench, I processed what happened. And I had to convince myself I could do it. I'm going to tell you right now, our attitude controls everything that happens. So monumentally that I'm telling you, I probably wouldn't be here had I chose a different path. In that one at-bat. Now, how could one at-bat be that monumentally different? I'm going to play a little story for you. Imagine if I strike out and I have this poor me feeling. I can't do this. Well, I can convince myself whatever I think I can or can't do. And guess what? 100% certainty, I'm right. You can or can't. You're 100% right. Whatever you pick. So at that moment of striking out, it could have been, this is overwhelming, and then I go up for the next at bat. Being overwhelmed, having this be too much, and then I strike out again, or I pop up, and I'm 0 for 2. And then I steamroll around, and it goes to the next at bat, and all of a sudden I'm in the batter's box, and I strike out. I'm 0 for 3. The game ends, and I'm 0 for 4. I maybe play the next day, I maybe not. Anyone following this pattern? It happens very, very quickly. What I did is I slowed it down, and I just repeated, I can do this. My attitude, my decision, I can, I will. Doesn't mean it was going to happen that next at-bat, but for me, that at-bat, it did. And I hit a ball off the right center field wall, and I was rounding second base. My legs are about like jello because I was so nervous and excitement, and I got to third base with a triple. And I went 6 for 12 for that tournament, and I made the all-tournament team. I went on a 21-game hitting streak, and I was hitting 400 up until the last 2 weeks of the season. My freshman year, I had one of the best freshman seasons in UNC baseball history. Anyone kind of see where I was going with? Imagine if my attitude got in the way. I'm not talking to you guys right here, right now. I promise you that. And that's one little decision. It's the power of what we have control of. So, I have a great fall, or a great spring. I go to Team USA. Now I'm one of the Team USA guys, but I ended up getting released that last night after I basically made the team. Was told I made the team, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, myself and Ryan Howard were up and we were talking because they were picking the team, having everyone come in. But they told me before they kind of officially said who was on, they said I was on the team. The reason it was taking so long is because 2 guys that were juniors that were going to get drafted, one was Xavier Nady, I'm sure Yankee fans remember him, and another guy was Patrick Boyd, who was a junior going to be a senior at Clemson. They were both on Team USA the year prior, both outfielders. And they both made a decision that night that they weren't going to sign professionally. So it didn't matter how I did. Politics and who they were took my spot. So that was the beginning of the kind of life that I was living, this perfect, pristine, nothing could go wrong, everything is wonderful life, and I had a little bit of an obstacle. You may say, well, okay, that's not the end of the world, and it wasn't. What ensued was I ended up having to play in the Coastal Plains League, which was a great league. I didn't perform as well as I would have liked. It was a tough mental thing for me going from here to where I thought I shouldn't be. And I'm guessing somebody had a plan for me, because when I went back to school as a sophomore, where this is going to be my campus, this is my school, I was one of the best hitters. I mean, that's not how I acted, but that's how I felt. And I was working out in the weight room, doing what I do normally just to get better and improve myself, and I'm working out and I'm doing some decline bench press, and I'm working out with an incoming freshman, and it's just he and I in the locker room, and I'm dropping my dumbbells, and on the floor are 2 other dumbbells that I didn't know were there, and I caught my 2 fingers in between the 2 dumbbells, and I sliced my fingers, and they were dangling from my hand. It was already get bulged, but it was true. And I put my hand on my chest, and I rushed to the coach's office, and I had a pool of blood. He thought I got shot. And he says, somebody called 911, and starts to get me into the car. The ambulance wasn't there by the time I got to the car, and he rushed me to the ER. The saving grace for me was the coach told the surgeon, he said, you gotta save his finger, he was the rookie of the year. So for me, I was like, oh, at least I'm in good hands with the surgeon, they're gonna take care of it. But it was traumatic. And it was traumatic from a standpoint of, it was the first time in my life that I was truly facing a challenge and an obstacle. I didn't handle it well. I didn't handle it well at all. And the reason was, because the thing that I prized so much of my life on, and I needed, I had to have competition, and I had to have baseball. It was stripped from me. I couldn't play. I wasn't allowed to play. I wasn't allowed to do sprints. I wasn't allowed to participate. I had to watch my team play. And it was only the fall, so I wasn't missing the real season. But for somebody who was very, very competitive, it was challenging. And when I say I didn't handle it well, it got so bad that I fell into that little bit of that bout of the thing called depression. Anybody? You don't have to raise your hand. But it hit me. It hit me hard. To the point where just months ago, I was on the top of the world. Nothing could take me down. Nothing could affect me in any way, shape, or form. And here I was thinking about going home, leaving school. I had my mom actually come down to make sure everything was okay. I had a meeting with my coach as a sophomore trying to figure out what the hell was going on with me. And when I finally opened up about the feelings that I was having and realized that I wasn't really eating, I didn't have energy, I was lethargic, I didn't want to go to the field. It was the first time I didn't even care about baseball. All because of a little finger accident. Anyone relate? Like the self-pity, poor me, wah. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing to have that, because once again, that's the human response. But the result and the actions that followed and what ensued was, I did it to myself. Because just by changing my attitude about the situation and not looking at it as this is the worst thing and oh, poor me, I could have done something different. But with every challenge and with every failure comes a tremendous opportunity. And thank God I had that experience when I did. Or else, same thing, maybe I'm not talking to you guys today. So I fought my way back to the point where I couldn't bend my finger. I had multiple surgeries. They performed a tenolysis because my tendon was bound down. I couldn't bend my finger. And when I came back to hit, I had to hold the bat without my whole hand on the bat. Minor challenges. My spring, I had an okay year. I still hit over 300 and had decent numbers, but I wasn't where I wanted to be. But I knew I wanted more. And I came back stronger. I worked harder than I'd ever worked. And my junior year, I had a really good season. And the June, forget the exact date, school was over, and now it's after my junior year, and that's the time when you become draft eligible. And during my junior year, I had spoken to a number of teams. Every single team minus the Yankees, the Cubs, and I believe there was one other. So if you rule out the Yankees, I guess I wasn't going to go be the next center fielder for the Yankees. But every other team, they showed interest. And it was interesting because my agent at the time told me that the Cubs were one team that was not going to draft me. They had too many first and second round outfielders in their farm system, and I wasn't their style of player. I fit more with like the A's approach, guys who get on base, guys who work counts, guys who walk, good defense. That was what the A's cared about. So I was actually told I was probably going to be drafted by them in the late first round, even the supplemental round, because they had a lot of early first and second round picks. Well, after the first round came and went, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth round, I was kind of getting a little uneasy. And the ninth round of the 2002 amateur baseball draft came, and I was contacted by, guess who? The team that didn't want me. The team that didn't talk to me. The team that I wasn't big enough, I wasn't the right fit for, the team that had all the outfielders in their system. Chicago Cubs. And I had a decision to make, a really, really tough decision. I knew there was like almost nothing that was going to stand in my way of me signing a contract after my junior year, because in my mind, now the young people don't listen to this, my mind was my physical ability will only be there for so long. And I felt physically and mentally ready. And I felt like my mind would be there a lot longer, so going back and finishing school, I could do that at a later point. That was just my decision. There's no right, there's no wrong. but you have leverage as a junior and you have no leverage as a senior. So as it relates to contracts and financial, a little bit of security, not really security, but just some money, because once you sign, you make none, and I'll get into that in a minute. But what I knew once the Cubs drafted me is there was not going to be a team that said, here you go, you can go be in the big leagues. I was going to have to earn it. And as long as I had a chance to be on the field and play, it was going to be up to me. And I believed in myself enough to say, I'm going to go for it. And I signed my professional contract. I forewent my senior year at the University of North Carolina for $78,000 and a whopping $850 a month salary for 5 months a year. Anyone? Yeah, you're laughing. It's below the poverty line, because if you do the math, it's less than nothing, right? And at the end of the season, you make nothing, but you're training for the next year. But it was heaven for me, because since I was this big, that's all I ever wanted. It wasn't about the money. It was about getting to the major leagues and playing in the major leagues. So I didn't care. I was getting the opportunity. So I signed, and I went to Lansing, Michigan on an $850 a month salary, and I lived at a host family's house because you really can't afford to live anywhere and pay anything. So I lived with a host family with no car. I lived in the basement, and there was no air conditioning, and it was the middle of summer in Michigan. Anyone? Yes, it was very comfortable. But once again, I didn't care, because my heaven was at the stadium. I got off to a good start. I was playing really well, life was good, and I was hitting over 300, and I felt, you know what? I'm here, I can do this. And then I started struggling. You guys know in baseball, or those baseball people understand, your average can look really, really good in a short period of time, right? So you can have a good-looking average in a 10-game span, 8-game span, and then you could have 2 games where you don't get a hit. And that really good average, guess what? 2 games later, it looks really bad. Well, that's what happened. So I went from over 300 to 224. Right? 300? 224? Not good? Good? Okay. I want to make sure you're with me. So, I started sitting on the bench. And I kind of gave you that pre-story back in sophomore year, how I felt not, being on the bench. Now I was physically healthy and able to play, and I wasn't. Not day 1, not day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 straight days. Baseball people, you know that's 8 games. Non-baseball people, it's 8 games. You play every day. So watching your team play every day as a professional baseball player, questioning myself. What the heck did I just get myself into? And just as quickly as that happened, I got myself up from the dugout and I went down into the clubhouse during the game. True story. Went into the clubhouse and I went into the bathroom and I started to look myself in the mirror. Now, I'll ask the question. Has anyone ever looked themselves in the mirror? Besides how good you think you look. Truly, look yourself in the mirror. Look at who you are. Look at what you do. Look inside your soul to see what are you all about. I'm a 21-year-old kid in Lansing, Michigan. I'm looking at myself in the mirror, actually saying, oh my God, I'm looking at myself in the mirror. And what I was talking about in my mind is, did I just make the worst decision of my entire life? What am I doing? I gave up a potential to play in the World Series, the College World Series. I gave up potentially breaking every UNC baseball offensive record. I gave up a degree. And just as quickly as I started to do that, I said to myself, I chose baseball. I chose this path. I worked my whole life for this opportunity. So remember back my first at-bat as a freshman and the decision that I made after I struck out? I made that same decision that minute, right there, looking myself in the mirror, talking to myself, saying, I did this. I picked this. And I'm going to do whatever I can to be mentally and physically ready when my chance comes again. Because I believed it would. Now life is amazing. We talked about it in the beginning. Change your mind, things happen. The next day, I get to the clubhouse. And they said, wait, before you get dressed, the manager wants to see you in the office. Having gone through everything I've gone through now in my life, like later on in my life, if I had heard that, my heart would be racing in a very different way. But I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't know what the heck he would want to talk to me about. But I'll tell you, if I knew then what I know now, I was getting released. Because that's what happens. When the manager says, or they say, hey, before you get dressed, they want to see you. See ya. You're gone. But he called me in the office and he sits me down and he says, congratulations. Look at the guy. You've been promoted to the higher level, which was Daytona, which was high A. Now our team was low A. Now he says to me, well, you know, the reason we didn't play you is because we knew you were getting promoted, and we didn't play you because, and all I hear is, just lie. You're just lying to me. But guess what? I didn't care. Because I was going to be on the worst team in the minor leagues. No, true. The worst team in the entire minor league, not just the Cubs. They had the worst record. The Cubs high A team had the worst record in the entire minor leagues. And their outfielders, their one outfielder that was getting promoted was their best player. So my team that was in Lansing was going to the playoffs, and technically I was their worst player. So I was the worst player on that team going to the worst team replacing the best player. Good for me, right? Congratulations. But what it was an opportunity. And success, this is just my definition, is preparation meeting opportunity. Because I was mentally prepared for the moment. It wasn't overthinking and overanalyzing. Why was I going? This is stupid. This doesn't make any sense. This was preparedness. I was ready because when he said you're going, I was already there. And the opportunity, I just need to get on the field. So, in baseball, there's two things. You can call life it kind of the same. Suspect. Anyone knows what a suspect would be? Yeah, I don't know. You suck. What's a prospect? You're really good. That's what you are. In baseball, when you play, you're a suspect or a prospect. Guess what I was? Yeah, it's okay. We're still with it. I was a suspect. I was hitting 224, sitting on the bench for 8 straight days. This guy's not good. I get to play. I show up, the manager says, hey, here's how it's going to be. You're going to play as long as you play hard, bunt when you want, steal when you want, play good defense, and show up on time. We don't have a problem. I said, thank you, sir. I was in heaven, true heaven now, because I'm going to get to play. I'm hitting leadoff. I'm playing center field. I didn't get to play center field once in Lansing. That's my position. I was left and right. I didn't even know what the hell left and right field were. First few games, I get off to a pretty good start. I think it was my 5th game. I lead off with a home run. Thank you. Second at bat, 2nd inning, I hit a ball off the right center field wall for a triple. 3rd inning, yeah, with me. 3rd inning, I don't bat. 4th inning, I get up with a leadoff bunt base hit on the 3rd base line. We bat around. I'm playing the Mets. I'll come back to the Mets much later. Bat around in that same inning. Hit a ball off the right center field wall. The 3rd base coach holds the guy at 3rd base. I'm standing on 2nd base with a... Yes. But, and here's the important part. That was not just a cycle, which means a single, double, triple, and home run in the same game. I did it in 4 innings. The first 4 innings of the game. It was the fastest recorded professional baseball cycle in the history of baseball professional. Think about that. I did something that no other human being had ever accomplished in professional baseball. Now it's cool. You guys aren't clapping, but that's fine. But what mattered was not just the fact that I went 5 for 6 and lined out, not the fact that I stole a couple bases, not the fact that I made a couple diving catches in the outfield. That doesn't matter. What mattered was who was there. The Cubs outfield roving instructor, the infield roving instructor, the Cubs farm director, the Cubs infield coordinator, the Cubs national cross-checker. I swear on anything, why the hell were these people at that game? Now, sporadically, at some point, at some time, some of those guys, either separately or maybe with one of the other guys, were in Lansing, Michigan. But for some reason, they were there at that game watching the worst team in the Cubs system and watching me have the best game of my entire life ever, still to this day. And after the game, after signing autographs for 45 minutes, and I signed every single one until the very last person, including the concession people, asked for my autograph because I was like, this is cool. I finished signing. Every one of those guys were still in the clubhouse. They waited to introduce themselves to me. What was I the night before? Suspect. In 3 hours, the same guy, the same everything, the same ability, turned into a prospect. Now, did it last? Well, kind of. I got to play. I led the team in hitting that year. The next year I got to stay in Daytona, which was fine. Played there the whole year, led the team in hitting. And then the next year, guess what I got to do? Come back to Daytona again, questioning, am I ever going to get a chance to move up? I asked the question and we'll say it was not received well. But the answer, finally the truth came out. The other guys that are getting promoted, they have to because we've invested so much into them, financially and time, that they're going to get moved up. Well, that's not fair, right? Well, I'm sorry, but life's not fair. In anything that we do, it's just not. What we do and how we react changes the course of what goes on. Poor me could have happened and could have set in, but I called my agent and I said, you know what? I'm going to just keep working and work harder than I ever have. So guess what? Those guys that just got promoted, all 3 of the outfielders made the All-Star team in AA. So now the guys that I completely did better than, and I earned the right to go, they were pushed to go, and they finally, it clicked in, and they just did really well. So now I'm kind of looking up, and it's like, well, when's my chance going to come? So the Cubs made this great trade. They get no more Garcia Parra. They get this kid Matt Merton, who was one of their best prospects, who was an outfielder. And guess what? Matt Merton's coming to our team in Daytona. So I'm going, oh man, am I going to not be playing now? And sure enough, that night, I get a phone call and I'm getting moved up to AA. Pretty cool. Yeah. So things are going in the right direction for me. So I go to AA, I have a great game, go 3 for 5, hit a home run, I'm off to the races, and I end up going to AAA, and then I end up going to Major League Spring Training. Now, I am going to, now we've set the stage for kind of this good life and a couple obstacles, nothing crazy, but good decisions, and I kept my attitude on check. So what I want to do now is this thing going to work, you think?
Your guess is as good as mine.
All right, so we can try. But here's what I want to do before I hit play. I want to have everyone close their eyes. And if you fall asleep, I probably didn't have you anyway. So close your eyes, and I want you to go back in time. I want you to go back to the greatest thing that has ever happened to you, and I want you just to think about not so much what it actually was, But I want you to go back to the feeling that you had when that thing happened. And just savor that feeling for a second. How good, the greatest thing that ever happened to you. And just hold on to that feeling just for a second. Now, keeping your eyes closed, I'd like you to go back in time to maybe the most challenging thing or the most difficult thing. And I don't, once again, want you to focus so much on the thing of what it was, but I want you to think about that feeling of sadness or disappointment, and just hold on to that feeling just for a second. Now, keeping your eyes closed, I want you to imagine if the greatest thing in your entire life ever, and the worst or the toughest tragic thing, and what if those two things happen at the same time? Probably impossible to think about them happening at the same time, but imagine those two feelings intersecting at the exact same time. And what I want you to do is you can turn the lights down, and I'm going to have you guys open your eyes, and I'll show you this short video, and then I will come back and close this out. And if it doesn't work, you just take a nap.
It's getting there.
Suspenseful, I just want to just make it suspenseful.
Have a good attitude.
That's it.
You work for something your whole entire life, and finally that dream's realized, and you're there, and something like that happens, it's tough to live.
Just think about a kid like that who goes from the highest point of his life to the lowest point of his life in a fraction of a second.
He was a tremendously talented young man. Well, yeah, I gave him a call pitch hit.
Greenberg will be the manager, making his major league debut in this appearance. And here's Greenberg.
He got hit in the head on the very first pitch.
Hand goes down, you hear the thud all across the ballpark.
I grabbed my head instantly because I really felt like I was holding it together.
This was before the concussions became a major story in sports. Back then, concussion, no one really thought twice about it.
Bending over a tight shoe, left you with headaches, for hours. Everyone's dreams of getting in the batter's box as a major league player, saying, I made it to the big leagues. And that's the end of the dream. It's not supposed to end that way. That's not going to be it. I'm not going to be a 15-minute of fame, one-pitch guy in the major leagues. I'm going to get back. I've worked too hard in my life and my career to have that be a point. I know how I feel right now. I'm going to put in the time and effort. I'm going to come down here to South Florida. I'm going to train with my guy this offseason and be ready for spring training. That's what I know. He didn't get a chance to use his skills. He didn't get a chance for anything. He barely could dunk.
My name is Matt Liston, and as a lifelong baseball fanatic, I want to see Adam get that next shot at the majors.
One at-bat for Greeny. Come on now, believe in the dream. One at-bat for Adam Greenberg.
What are his chances of getting that major league at bat?
At this point, it's going to be tough.
Boy, it would be a 1,000,000 to 1 shot.
But you're saying there's a chance.
Fans have started a movement to bring him back to home plate. This is gaining momentum online. People are signing this online petition of 17,000 people now. It's really gaining some steam.
How far would you go to help a total stranger get a second chance?
I would be willing to give up one of my at-bats. Oh, heck yeah. I'm lobbying for him. That would be the real dream come true to have that opportunity.
I want to introduce David Sampson. David is the president of the Miami Marlins baseball team.
Adam, we'd like to sign you to a one-day contract.
And if you come to Miami, we're going to put you in uniform and you're going to be a member of our team on Tuesday, October 2nd against the New York Mets. And believe me, you're going to get one at-bat. So get ready.
I'm ready to play. I'm going to give it a great at-bat. That I know for sure. If it's 1 pitch or 10 pitches, this is all worth it.
What do you think of that?
I think that's awesome. He needs that. I'll be standing right there on the top step cheering for him.
It's going to be a tremendous moment. You've earned it. You've worked so hard through the years. I think anybody who sees that about 1 pitch, getting hit the way you did, you're back. Been playing for years. Good luck.
It's one at-bat, but obviously it's resonating with so many people, showing the power of the human spirit, the power of perseverance, and just staying positive and not letting yourself stay down. But it's not, you can't do it alone. You need support.
So it's just great for anybody who's looking for a second chance. This is it.
That's the best part of this story. I mean, that he is still pursuing his dream, and he's going to have a shot with the Miami Marlins.
Greenberg in the box, and here we go. First pitch, strike one.
Here's the one thing that I want to make very clear. This campaign and this at-bat is a success already.
Dickey, 0-1 pitch. And Greenberg takes a swing on this. He's behind in the count, 0-2.
This is not a baseball at-bat for me. This is really a story to kind of help motivate people and have them realize that anything is possible if you don't ever give up and keep your mind set on your goals.
0-2 pitch. Swing and miss, and he strikes out. Well, you know what? He made it back. He goes right back. And the crowd measures his again.
It just proved that this was, it really was important to me. Believe in yourself, have a dream, go for it, and don't give up, no matter what happens, no matter how hard things get, how hard life gets. Get up and go on, and don't be afraid to allow other people to help you through tough times. I won, and we've all won. We couldn't be more happy that this is how it turned out. I don't care what's gone on the last 7 years, it's all worth it for this moment.
All right. So remember that Disney movie? Right? I'm going to get a hit, maybe hit a home run, and something like that, right? But truthfully, that wouldn't be my life. That wouldn't be my story. That wouldn't be just the way life is. It's not picture perfect. And as I said in the video, success had already happened before I even walked into the batter's box. When 35,000 people, and why 35,000 people were at Miami at the end of the season watching them play the Mets. I don't know.
Who's watching the Mets at the end of the season?
But it was the most fans that they seemed to ever have. But it was pretty cool because they were there for that game. And they were all holding these one at-bat posters. And when I stood into the batter's box, and I was walking the batter's box and got in there, it was the loudest noise I've ever heard. The ground was trembling. And I'm not anyone who ever really recognizes or notices what's going on around me when I'm in the batter's box. But for the first time in my life, I stepped out of the batter's box and I just let it rain. I just let those cheers happen and I soaked it up because the first time I stepped in the batter's box, as you saw, it lasted 0.3 of 1 second. And I didn't know if it would ever happen again. So I learned very quickly to not take anything for granted. Not take my day, not take my life, not take anything for granted, because you never know when it can be stripped away from you. And when I was laying down, as I said in the video, I grabbed my head because I thought it had split open. But I'm going to tell you guys something right now. If you think you want something in life, I'm going to probably call BS. Like, you really want something, I'm going to call BS. If you truly want something, you have to dedicate your soul. You have to feel it, think it, want it, will it, and be willing to sacrifice for it. And I'm talking about anything. If you truly want something to change in your life and want success, you have to do things that are outside your comfort zone. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's my latest thing, because I ran for state senate, I know. But my point is, I wanted it so bad to make it to the major leagues. I was going to do anything I could to get there. How do I know this? And how will you guys know this? By the next thing that I'm going to tell you. And hopefully, you don't ever forget it. Now, you might forget the question, you might forget the answer, but the purpose behind it, hopefully you'll never forget. I was asked 3 questions right after I was hit, right after my eyes rolled in the back of my head, and I said 2 words 3 times. Guess those words. Stay alive. Stay alive. Stay alive. The first Major League at bat. ESPN, nationally televised Sunday night baseball game. I'm on the Cubs, the team that was never supposed to draft me. I'm the 5'8 3/4 white Jewish kid from Guilford, Connecticut, with 0 chance to make it to the major leagues. And here I was living my dream. Everything was in front of me. 24 years old. And I'm saying, after the 0.3 of a second that I have in the batter's box as my first major league pitch, stay alive. 3 times. My eyes came back, and I opened them, and I saw the catcher standing over me saying, stay down, you're going to be okay. And I knew at least I wasn't bleeding out and dying. It's true. So when the training staff came over, I'm getting to my point, the training staff came over and they asked the 3 questions. The first one is obvious. How many fingers am I holding up? Just got hit in the head. Great. I answered the question. Don't know if I was right. Then they had me follow their finger. And then this is the question. And the answer. Where were you 2 days ago? Without pause, without hesitation. I was in the minor leagues and I'm not going back. You get me? How bad did I want it? Nothing mattered. I'm just giving you that to show, if you really want something, don't just say it. Don't act like you do. Don't make excuses of why this person did that, or why this happened, or that got in my way. It's not real. That's our own limitations we put on ourselves every day. There should be no ceiling and there should be no floor. And that's why I knew, and that's why I can stand up here today confidently saying, I know what it takes to get there. And after that happened, for the next 7 years of positional vertigo, vision issues, personal bankruptcy, I mean, you name it, I went through it. Injuries, surgeries, all of it. Releases, playing independent ball, sister-in-law, lung cancer, sister-in-law passing, best friend's son dying in a drowning accident. I went through a lot. That's why I wrote a book, because I didn't want to just have what happened to me just be a story, be something that, okay, it happened to me. I share it because I want to impact people's lives. I want to have everything that happened to me have some sort of meaning. It does for me. But I know that it was bigger. To have 35,000 people cheering for the home guy on their team who strikes out doing nothing productive on the team and giving him a standing ovation, I think I might be the first ever to get that. It's pretty cool. And of course, I get to face the Cy Young Award-winning knuckleballer, R.A. Dickey, who was having his career year that year. Struck out more guys than anyone in the entire league. I had my strikeout, put him over the top. No, that's true, yes. But I'm also dumb from the standpoint that I could have gone down in history with the highest on-base percentage in Major League Baseball history. I could have had 2 records, and no one would ever have beaten me with 1,000 on-base percentage. But I struck out. And I have a 500 on-base percentage in Major League, so that's not so bad. But I've never actually touched first base, because they didn't take it out of the batter's box. But I'll tell you, it was the most magnificent journey I could have ever imagined. Would I do it again 10 times over? Every struggle, every obstacle, every challenge has changed who I am and the lives that I've been able to impact, knowingly and unknowingly. And unknowingly, there's a couple examples in the book. People that are still on this earth today, because of the struggles and challenges that I went through, they were able to connect to it. And they're still on this earth, meaning they didn't commit suicide. So is it worth it for what I went through and the struggles I went through? Absolutely. The people and the relationships that I've gotten to meet and interact with, it's beyond special. But I'll tell you, we limit ourselves every day. And I was never going to be satisfied. People told me all the time after that happened, well, at least you made it. Right, Dave?
Yep.
We just had this conversation. At least you made it. You're one of the few. It's pretty remarkable. You know what I would say? Shut up. Screw off. Being serious. It would anger me. Anger me. Because I live my life by 3 things. This could offend people or not. Number 1, first and foremost, do it for yourself. Anyone? Selfish? Selfish. I'm a selfish guy. Do it for yourself. What does that mean? It means do something and do things that make you happy. Because does anyone know the phrase misery loves company? Anyone believe in it?
Yes.
Ever be around miserable people? Guess what? You start kind of feeling a little bit like... But what happens when you're around good people, positive people, happy people? You start to kind of gravitate towards them. Happiness loves company also. I know this for a fact because they're actually teaching at universities. You can get degrees in happiness. True. You can join happiness clubs probably in this area. True. You're laughing. No, I've spoken happiness clubs. It's real. But do it for yourself. Because if you're not happy, how are you going to help other people? Truly. You're going to really motivate and inspire them and bring them up. It's hard. So just do things that make you happy. And if you say, well, Mike, I can't, this is that. No, you choose it. I can't leave my job. No, you can. I can't listen. No, you can. If you limit yourself, you're exactly right. That's all you're going to be. Do it for yourself. Make yourself happy. Number 2, then make people proud around you. And what's going to make people proud? If you're happy. You're going to inherently make people proud. And then the 3rd, and this was the thing that I was kind of getting to with when people say, well, congratulations, you at least made it. Well, they weren't mean to me. They weren't nasty. There were some people that said, oh, give it up already. But those that said, oh, you've made it. At least you were one of the few. It's the naysayers or those that spark that little thing inside of you. That's when you dig deep to prove them wrong. But oftentimes we do it for the opposite reason. We try to prove things to people just because. There's no reason. I'm going to show you. What do you mean? Make yourself happy, make people proud, and then use the fuel if you need that. It seems to work for me. I'm not right all the time. With my wife, I try to be. Yeah, you guys know. But for me, there's a thing called a champion. A champion is, what are you doing when nobody's looking? Pretty simple. I got to tell you. And being in a synagogue, I can go here. I think the Jewish culture, who we are as Jewish people, we have an inherent gift. I think everyone has the gift of perseverance. But I think Jews have a little bit deeper sense of what that really means. What is perseverance? The ability to grit it out, overcome challenges and obstacles. I mean, let's be honest. We've been on the brink of exoneration many times. People want to wipe us off the face of the earth. And we keep getting up. Here we are. Still plugging along. So when I give speeches, I talk about the gift of perseverance. It's no different than any gift that we all have. You can read Hebrew pretty damn good. People are great in math. People can jump really high. People can throw really hard. People have physical gifts. They have mental gifts. What happens if you stop working and training those gifts? What happens to them? They go away. The gift of perseverance is something that we've all been given. What happens if we start putting our head down and put our heads between our legs and say, poor me? what's going to happen with time? You can't stop it. It's going to keep going. With or without us, we have no choice. So we can make one of two choices. Poor me, or like my book, the title of my book, Get Up. The Art of Perseverance. We keep plugging, we keep going, because as long as we keep going, we have the chance of making it a great day and a great future and a great life. But we can just as easily choose to put our head between our legs and say, poor me. So the gift of perseverance is something that we need to continuously work at, like any gift we've ever been given. And when you see somebody that's in need, give them a push. And that's why I come, and that's why I do these speeches. So I want to thank you so very much for the opportunity to speak to you guys tonight. And if you guys have any questions, I'm certainly here. And I will be taking any questions if you have. Yes.
I assume you went back to school and got a degree of some sort?
It's a great question. So I was very, very fortunate that I dove for a ball and I snapped my rotator cuff and labrum 90% in 2009. And why was I very fortunate? Because I had was introduced to a natural whole food that I took for the entire season and didn't have surgery, didn't have cortisone, didn't have anti-inflammatories or drugs. And I played the whole season and stole more bases than I ever did in my entire life. My body felt better than it ever had. I then realized that why are more people not having like non-drug ways to better themselves? And then I had surgery and I was supposed to miss 10 to 12 months and came back in 5, so I played the next season instead of missing it. And I started my own company. And I started my own nutrition company, and we ended up doing nationwide health challenges. We have a product line, and impacted over 100-something thousand people. Since 2010, 11 was our first sale. So that's what I've been doing ever since, and I'm not saying I'm never going back, but I seized the opportunity to change lives, and I've kind of just kept plugging away.
I know the answer to this. You had a play today. We spoke about this privately, right?
Yeah.
If you thought about a comeback, could you?
Absolutely, 100%. I just said give me a few months to just get in my cleats and throw a ball a little bit, but yeah, the competitiveness, and I will say this: after I was injured, though, there was a part of me. If anyone's had any brain injury, you may be able to relate. There's a piece of you that gets lost. My vision was off. I couldn't focus. Short-term memory wasn't there. But I also lost a little piece of that killer instinct that I have to and I'm going to win. And it took years. It really did. It took years to get that killer instinct back. I was an elite athlete, still playing, but there was a piece of me that was different. And as I've kind of read more people who have been at that level, there's a dark side, and I had it. And it's crazy. I lost it for a bit, and it's been coming back more and more. So the competitiveness is there.
Why do you think you lost that?
I don't have the answer. I just think that traumatic brain injury, it does a lot of things to a person. And I think there was so much. I was getting emotional just for no reason. Legitimately, I would watch something on TV and I'd start crying, and I'm like, what the hell's wrong with me? Lifetime television, look at that. But just, I don't know. I just worked so hard for so long at that's all I needed, and then all of a sudden I was questioning, like, can I tie my shoe? Am I gonna fall over? I can't see straight. Like, it was just different. Yeah.
What's the name of your nutrition company?
It's called Lu Rong Living, and Lu Rong is Chinese for deer antler, and that was actually the product that I was consuming. And it's just for your joints, cartilage, and bones. It increases bone density, increases joint lubrication. It's awesome. Yeah.
When you came up for your second bat with Miami, what went through your mind? Did it occur to you at all that possibly you may get beaten again?
No. R.A. Dickey was a knuckleballer throwing 82 miles an hour, so even if he did hit me, I'd be like, I'm on first base. So, but I had the subconscious when I was back playing. It wasn't even when I was first back playing. It was when I went to Venezuela. As I went to Venezuela in the winter of 2005. So I got hit July 9, and then the winter of 2005 I was in Venezuela, and I got hit by a Venezuelan pitcher, a big tall left-hander. So when I was in the box down there, and I mean, something happened where I started doing this in the batter's box, like bailing out. Wasn't intentional, and that started forming bad habits for me. So it messed with me.
Yeah, I played ball in high school, summer ball, and I got hit, and man, you really don't realize how much that stings.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I came up afterwards, I had to consciously say ignore the fact that I might get hit. Really hard.
Yeah, I'll say that the very first game that I came back to play, I was in the on-deck circle, and the pitcher was warming up. He was the lefty, and I was watching him warm up, and he was hitting the catcher's mitt every single pitch where he was setting up. There was just 8 warm-up pitches, and that's what I told myself. I'm like, I've been in the batter's box a million times, and that's what he's supposed to do. So what happened to me was just a freak fluke thing. And so yes, I had to fight it in the early beginning, and then the subconscious, though, was my problem. I didn't even realize I was doing that. Yes?
Do you ever thank God that this could have been worse? You know, Tony Canigliaro and other people before the batting helmets, a couple of guys were killed.
Every day. I mean,
God forbid you were able to come back, but
so
you could have been.
So you bring up a great point. When I had you guys all close your eyes, I was getting to a purpose of closing your eyes about the worst and the best thing. And I think, as a lot of you guys can imagine, the worst thing ever happened to me was getting hit in the head. Well, that's what I thought. And now I say that was the greatest gift that I've ever been given. So yes, I'm forever grateful. I feel like I'm not a big believer. I used to be a believer in everything happens for a reason. And then I changed my tune with that, because then I start going, well, God's saying, okay, I've scripted your life exactly what it's supposed to be. And then I'm going, no, God gives us the opportunity to make choices and give us the gift of our own mind, and we can choose one path or the other. And so, is this too bad?
No, I'm looking for the rabbi. So he was here. Oh, there he is. Some of his sermons touch on this. Maybe you'll have a...
Yeah, but this is very recent. This is really, really recent for me, because I was like, yeah, everything happens for a reason. But then I realized, like, no, we're not predestined for anything. I just say thank you that it did, and I'm just grateful that, I mean, it truly has been the greatest gift. As all the struggles and everything I went through, it was amazing.
Time for one more question. Anybody?
Yes.
Which pitcher hit you?
Valerio de los Santos.
Ooh.
Exactly.
Do you think there was any purpose to that?
Did he ever reach out to you?
I did speak to him. I actually faced him. I always forget this part of the story. I did face him in 2011. He was playing in the same independent ball team, and I knew the entire winter that he was on the team that I was facing the opening night of the season. And he threw me a first pitch fastball, 92 miles an hour, in at my hip, cut over for strike one. I got out of the batter's box. I looked at him and was like, dude, if you're good, I'm good. But you're not getting me out. And I fought off a couple pitches and got a base hit. And so then you could always say with a what if that had happened, my first pitch and or first at bat, and I got a base hit. It didn't, and we can't change the past. It happened. So there is no what if it didn't, and this is what we make of our life. So, but
I'm going to play. You remember we had the author come back down a few months ago, and he had books for sale and so on. I told Adam not to bring a whole bunch of books. He brought one so you could see it. All right. This is the book that he was referencing. I think your agent told me.